Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who just won the country's election with the Liberal Party, says the U.S.-Canada relationship has been tarnished.
The U.S.-Canadian relationship has been strained in recent months after tariffs were imposed and talks of Canada becoming the 51st state. To talk more about our international relationship, we welcome Wayne Redekop, the mayor of Fort Erie, Ontario. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Dave and Kelsey.
Yeah. So Monday morning, our president posted that Canada is a, quote, beautiful landmass, and he referred to the border between U.S. and Canada as an artificially drawn line from many years ago. You've heard the term 51st state. You know, what do you guys think about that when you hear those things over there?
So we think that the President of the United States doesn't have a good understanding of history or geography. I think it's pretty clearly understood that Canada itself is larger than all of the states of the United States put together. And that isn't an artificial line. That's actually a boundary that was created by treaty. So what we do try, though, to do is make sure that our residents focus on the distinction between the United States government administration and the people who live in the United States. We don't take issue with the people that live in the United States, many of whom along the border are family, friends, business relations. But we do take issue with a government that is disrespectful and really doesn't have an appreciation of the importance of the relationships that do exist between our two countries.
Mayor, I'm curious how elections work in Canada in terms of their comparison to what happens here in the States. This was a very big election for you guys, something that is a little bit rare for us. Well, it is foreign to us, if you will, is that elections in Canada can be scheduled as they are by each party if they want for the election. Can you explain how that works?
Sure. You have a republic system and we have a parliamentary system. And that parliamentary system is based on an election in each of 343 ridings across the country. And the party that ends up with the most elected representatives then chooses its prime minister, first minister. Usually the prime minister is known well in advance because that's the leader of the party that goes into the election. And in this particular case, it's Mark Carney. His party, the Liberal Party, gained 169 seats out of 343. So while not a clear majority, it is more than any of the other parties, and he will be the prime minister. His party will govern as long as they maintain what we call the confidence of the House. That is, as long as they present legislation, they present policies that are agreeable to the majority in the House of Commons, they will continue to govern. But he has the mandate now to deal with all international issues, including tariffs and protecting our sovereignty.
It seems as though Canadians, or at least voters, those who are registered, were either tired of Justin Trudeau or he had outpaced perhaps his time in office, because while he also was a representative of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney is also now the representative of the Liberal Party. Is this an example of Canadian voters being tired of Justin Trudeau and wanting a new, fresh face for their party?
Yeah, historically, governments in Canada will last 9-10 years. And by that time, the leader usually has created enough of a stir on enough issues that people are tired of him. Maybe his colleagues in the party are tired of him. And so it was time for Justin Trudeau to move on. And certainly he had created enough flashpoints across the country that people indicated that they would not vote for him or his party representatives in a federal election. Once he was gone, once the carbon tax was eliminated, once someone with the experience of Mark Carney took over as leader of the Liberal Party, it was a completely different story. And so from a 25-point disadvantage in the polls, the Liberals took on a surplus in terms of popular support, and that came across during the election.
Something really important to hear to us here in Buffalo is the fact that we are a border city. You guys are as well. And what's really important is the commerce back and forth and the tourists that come over to shop. They come to our Sabres games, Bills games. Every time I'm tailgating at a Bills game, there is a Canadian nearby.
We love it.
We do love that. What do you say, Mayor, though, about what are your constituents saying to you about coming over here to shop, coming over here to go to those games now?
Well, it's hard to keep sports fans away from the teams that they support. And so many of the 40 in the Niagara region have seasons, so they support the Sabres, the Bills. But people who don't have seasons tickets may not be inclined to come over. People are certainly not going over to shop. They're not going over to dine out, simply because they're not happy about what's going on. There's a lot of resentment in Canada right now towards the American administration, and not towards the American people, towards the American administration. And, you know, we're Canadians, we're very proud people, and we simply don't appreciate someone popping off and saying the ridiculous things, at least in our minds, ridiculous things that your president says.
Mayor, you had told our Sarah Mikowitz during a story a couple of weeks ago, used a hockey phrase, the elbows up, if you will. That's sort of how Canada approaches the game of hockey. It's lovely, it's beautiful game, if you will. I'm curious if you think that arms or elbows up mantra still exists, is still pertinent today. And I ask that because today, during his cabinet meeting, Donald Trump said, hey, I had a conversation just this morning with Mark Carney. He's going to come to the White House and we're going to work this whole thing out. And Trump seemed to insinuate that this was more political than, you know, a show, allowed him to get elected. Where do you sit on that? Do you think some of this is politics and maybe this relationship could be mended?
I think that it will take a long time for Canadians to get back to where we were before. And the reality is that the relationship has changed to the extent that we now know that a partner that we believe to be entirely reliable, in sync with the things that we did and we believed in our values, may not be so. And we've now had one president who has disrespected the country, who has threatened us economically, and we have no assurances that in the future, down the road, 5, 10, 20 years from now, a similar president may not be elected by the American people. So we need to do the things that are necessary in order to protect our sovereignty, our interests, and we will do that. And Mark Carney is uniquely suited in order to assist us to do that with his economic experience, his international relations, his ability to work with people and to try to find solutions. He'll do that with the American president, but this is a person who is no one's fool and will not be played with and will demand respect. And if we don't get respect, well, then we'll use the other tools in our toolkit, including elbows up.
All right. For Erie, Mayor Wayne Redekop, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.